History is full of people who sought revenge. But there is a profound difference between a sudden burst of rage and a calculated, agonizingly slow campaign of psychological deception. In the spring of 1701, a corrupt official inside Japan's highest court thought he had completely destroyed a rival noble family. He had no idea he had just set off a 2-year countdown to his own execution. This is the story of the 47 Ronin. And it is the ultimate masterclass in playing the long game. It began inside the walls of Edo Castle. A young, honorable provincial lord named Asano was tasked with hosting elite imperial envoys. Because he was unfamiliar with the complex etiquette of the shogun's court, the government assigned a senior official to instruct him. His name was Kura Yoshinaka. Kira was deeply corrupt, accustomed to receiving massive bribes from anyone seeking his favor. Lord Asano, a man of rigid integrity, refused to pay. So, Kira weaponized his position. He subjected the young lord to a relentless campaign of public psychological torture. He deliberately gave Asano incorrect protocols, altered schedules without telling him, and openly mocked him in front of the entire court as a clueless provincial rustic. For weeks, Asano endured the humiliation. But finally, the psychological pressure broke him. In a palace hallway, after Kira hurled one final insult, Asano drew his short sword and struck, slashing Kira across the face. It was a fatal mistake. Drawing a weapon inside the shogun's palace was an absolute capital crime. Kira played the victim perfectly. The shogun, furious at the breach of protocol, ordered Lord Asano to commit seppuku ritual suicide that very afternoon. His estates were seized, his family was stripped of its noble name, and his 300 elite samurai were instantly cast out into the wilderness. They were now Ronin, masterless, dishonoured wanderers. By the laws of the samurai code, Asano's men were obligated to avenge their master. But Kira wasn't stupid. He anticipated their wrath. He immediately transformed his mansion into a fortress, hiring hundreds of heavily armed guards, and deployed a massive network of spies to watch Asano's former right-hand man, a samurai named Oishi. Oishi knew they were being watched. He knew a direct assault would fail instantly. To bypass Kira's hypervigilant security, they needed to convince the world that they were broken, cowardly, and entirely devoid of honor. What followed was one of the greatest psychological deceptions in military history. Oishi uprooted his life. He moved to Kyoto, divorced his loyal wife of 20 years, and began frequenting the city's sketchiest brothels and taverns. He became a notorious drunk, gambling away what little money he had left. One night, a samurai from a rival clan found Oishi passed out drunk in the dirt of a public street. The man was so disgusted by Oishi's lack of honor that he spat on him, kicked him in the face, and left him in the mud. Oishi didn't even flinch. Meanwhile, the other 46 Ronin systematically erased their identities. They integrated into society as ordinary laborers, street vendors, and carpenters. They took menial jobs near Kira's social circles to gather intelligence. One Ronin went so far as to marry the daughter of the master architect who had designed Kira's fortified mansion. His sole mission? To smuggle out the building's blueprints. For nearly 2 agonizing years, they lived this lie. Kira's spies watched every move and eventually reported back, Asano's men are pathetic wretches. They pose absolutely no threat. Believing he had one, Kira finally relaxed. He let his guard down and dismissed his extra security forces. On the night of January 30th, 1703, the trap finally snapped shut. A heavy blizzard blanketed the city of Edo. Moving like ghosts through the zero-visibility storm, the 47 Ronin quietly converged on Kira's mansion. Armed with their smuggled blueprints and split into 2 tactical units, they struck simultaneously from the front and back gates. The assault was surgical. Kira's remaining guards were completely overwhelmed in the dark. Oishi cleared the mansion room by room until they bosses finally located Kira hiding in a pitch-black charcoal storage shed. The noble official who had once carried himself with ultimate arrogance was now trembling in the dark, identifiable only by the scar left on his face from Asano's blade 2 years prior. Oishi knelt before his enemy with terrifying, chilling politeness. He offered Kira the exact same dagger Lord Asano had used to end his own life, giving Kira the chance to die with a samurai's dignity. Kira, paralyzed by fear, could only scream for mercy. Realizing the man was a coward to the end, Oishi pinned him down and cleanly severed his head. With the target eliminated, the 47 Ronin marched through the freezing snow to the temple of Sengakuji, where Lord Asano was buried. They washed Kira's head in a nearby well, laid it directly before their master's tomb, and calmly turned themselves over to the authorities. The shogun was faced with an unprecedented legal dilemma. By law, the Ronin were vigilantes who had committed mass murder. But by the code of Bushido, they had executed the highest form of loyalty and righteousness. To honor their absolute devotion, the shogun refused to execute them as common criminals. Instead, he granted them the ultimate privilege. They were permitted to die by seppuku, preserving their honor, restoring their family names, and etching their sacrifice into history forever. Betrayal destroys most houses. But sometimes, it creates a legacy that outlives the empire itself.